Call this meeting back to order at 2:02 p.m. Advisor Fonseca.
The next line item is campus recreation. They requested $1,134,834, and they're located on tab H or page 103 of the student fees binder.
I'd like to make a motion for $1,013,689.50.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, $1,013,689.50. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Argumendo. The reason for this proposed cut of almost $121,000 is for a couple of reasons. So I do think campus recreation was very frugal. They did not request an increase from last year. They are operating on very bare bones. However, with the commission's previous cuts and sentiments towards the debate team and the esports team willing to kind of defund those areas as they're not suitable for student fee dollars, I think the same should go for the Shocker rowing team, which is housed under campus recreation. So the specific costs associated with this cut would be their $57,263 travel fund. The other amount would be $43,888, which would not fill the currently open assistant rowing coach position. And then the final item would be cutting half of their equipment and maintenance costs, which would be around $19,993.50. So all of these cuts are coming straight from the rowing team. Their scholarships are not affected as those are funded from outside sources. This is strictly cutting down the travel, not refilling a coach's position, and then half of their equipment and maintenance cost to kind of stay on the same level of how I think we should be responsible with students' dollars. Would anybody else like to speak on this? Commissioner Naylor?
I'll speak in affirmation of this. I'm also unsure about how student fee dollars should be going to rowing. Like Treasurer Bum said, the same. I think if we're going to implement one thing, we should be held accountable across all boards. If we're making cuts in other areas, then I'd like to see this cut a little bit as well. I noticed on the feedback for the question, there was $244,611 put towards rowing. I think that's a drastic number, especially since in the binder they only had 25 students fill out that survey. That's not the total number of students from my results I got. That's not the total number of students on the rowing team, but just from that survey, I think I would have liked to see more feedback from the total number of students, but also I just think that's a drastic number to be putting towards rowing.
Any other thoughts? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 8 in favor, 0 against, and 2 abstentions, the motion carries. The next line item is the Radigan Student Center. Their request is for $2,597,530. They're located on tab O or page 239 of the student fees binder.
Commissioner Wong?
I would like to motion to allocate $2,400,965.
Do I have a second? Second by Vice President Nguyen. Would you like to speak on that?
Yes, the Radigan Student Center.
One second. Could you say that number one more time?
Yes, $2,400,965. I think the impact of the Radigan Student Center is pretty obvious. On top of that, they've been pretty transparent about their budgeting processes. They include students at every level whenever they develop their student fees process. And so in that level of transparency and trust, I know that they are good stewards of student fee dollars.
Speaker Fawn.
I'm speaking in negation of this motion, as I think they should be allocating more funding. I appreciate the transparency they had with their processes and the necessary cuts and cost-saving measures that they implemented as well. I think we should fund them at their full amount, taking into consideration that they did increase their requests from last year as well.
Commissioner Wong.
I apologize. I would like to rescind my motion immediately. I was looking at the wrong line item.
Vice President Nguyen, would you like to rescind your second? Okay, perfect. Do I have any new motions? Commissioner Wong.
Just making sure it's correct. I would like to motion to allocate $2,587,530. Nope. I apologize. Can I just say the numbers? 2597530.
Do I have a second on that motion? Vice President Nguyen. The correct number is $2,597,530. All right. Would anybody like to speak in affirmation or negation of this? Commissioner Naylor.
I'll speak in affirmation of the full fiscal amount requested being allocated to the Radigan Student Center. I think they do a great job, and I think there is a need for this amount of money, and it's going to the right place. They've been very transparent.
I'll also speak in affirmation. Like Commissioner Wong said, students are involved from every step that this budget is created on and approved. Another great thing I think is awesome about the RSC is their business model is very unique. They find the perfect medium of charging students and creating revenue from their services while trying to keep the amount that they're requesting for student fees low. So I do think that they're great stewards of the funds that they receive and are extremely transparent with them. Commissioner Fawn, or Speaker Fawn, sorry.
I will also be speaking affirmation of this amount. I'm speaking affirmation in addition to the points that I brought up before. I think they did a really great job of articulating the different items that they have within their budget as well. And I think from my standpoint, the student government has a special obligation to the Radigan Student Center. Our logo is the Radigan Student Center, but also we have, I think it's special to us in a way where we have all our meetings in the Radigan Student Center. A lot of student organizations have meetings in the RSC as well. So I think I want to continue having that experience within our student center and so continue to support the different things that they're doing as well.
Any other thoughts on this motion? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstention, the motion carries. Okay, we're going down to the first fund for the Sunflower. That line request is for $185,000. They're located in tab F of the student fees binder or page 74. I recommend we start with the general fund first, and then we'll jump into their reserve fund after that.
I'd like to make a motion of $185,000, seconded by Commissioner Beatty. To speak on this point, I think the Sunflower does amazing work here on campus. They honestly have, in my opinion, the best business model of most of the entities here, where not only do they provide applied learning opportunities for students, but they also affect the campus community as a whole with their journalism. Along with that, they are one of the oldest departments on campus. They're currently competing on a national level with many of the other most prestigious universities, and along with that, they also recently had a partnership with the Associated Press, one of the most famous newspapers in America, and I'm hoping that the funds allocated here will put them up to the next level for their operations. Anyone else like to speak on this? Commissioner Beatty?
Yes, I will also be speaking in affirmation. Something that really draws me towards the growth of and the support of the Sunflower is their push to use digital materials, podcasts, Instagram Reels, just pushing out their product via other sources, especially online media, will really help them grow.
Speaker Fawn?
I will also be speaking in affirmation of this increase. I think it's incredibly important that we fund the Sunflower and that it adds another layer of transparency within our university as well, and even for our Student Government Association. I think one pattern that I've been noticing that's been concerning throughout some of the other K-Board institutions or across different SGAs around the nation are defunding their student newspapers because of some of the reporting that they've done. I think throughout the years, I think our SGA and Sunflower may have contentious relationships at times. I think it's really important to have that extra layer of transparency as well. I also think they did a really great job articulating different ways that they save costs in the previous fiscal years. And in addition to that, a lot of their requests or amount that they've been allocated has been pretty flat in the past few years as well. So I really appreciate the ways that they try to increase engagement online virtually as well, in addition to all the things that they did to save costs.
Vice President Nguyen?
I would also like to speak in affirmation. I think not only about the transparency piece between SGA and the Sunflower, but also the work that the Sunflower puts in to highlight students on campus, whether that is showing up to student organizations, events, or performances and things like that. I think outside of the news level too, they're very intentional with the pieces that they produce. So I think this is a great chance for them to receive their funding.
Any other thoughts? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
This is the motion to fund $185,000 for their operational budget. The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions, the motion carries. The next line item is the Sunflower Equipment Reserve. Their request was for $4,738, and they're also located on tab T on page 74.
Speaker Fawn?
I move to allocate the full fiscal year 27 request.
Seconded by Commissioner Pang. Would you like to speak on that?
Yes, so I think as several of us have articulated and expressed, I think we share the same sentiments about funding a lot of the Sunflower's items. I think it's also important that we have some sort of fund to replenish the technology for the Sunflower, as even within SJ, we recently had a technology update as well. So I think those are necessary costs.
Any other thoughts on this item? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstention, the motion carries. I think before we continue, I think Lindsay has something she wants to bring up.
Just for clarification, operationally, we budget to a full dollar amount. So your allocation that was given to Campus Rec, we would, operationally, we would round it up to a full dollar. So if you want to pass that or however that needs to happen, just for your information.
Thank you. Does that need to be a new motion to the exact dollar amount? Is it a new motion? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to allocate campus recreation $1,013,690. Do I have a second? Sent by Commissioner Beatty. Like Lindsay just said, we have to do that. Any thoughts? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions, the motion carries. The next line item is the College of Fine Arts Programming. Their request was for $50,000. They're located on tab L.
Speakerphone.
I move to allocate the full request for fiscal year 27.
Seconded by Commissioner Beatty. Would you like to speak on that?
Yes, so I appreciate the presentation that they gave and them going into more details on what it looks like from their expenses-wise for the different performances they have, their overview of the ticket sales that they had, in addition to a lot of ways that they try to mitigate some of the additional costs that they have incurred throughout the years just because of rising production costs as well. I think in the within their presentation, I always appreciate them also running through an overview of what sort of events they have for the rest of the semester, in addition to some things that they've done in the past comparatively as well.
Commissioner Beatty.
Yes, I'm speaking in affirmation, as not only does this provide a benefit to every student on campus by providing them free tickets to events held through the College of Fine Arts, but also as it's a very important piece to people that need practical experience within the College of Fine Arts. Their concerts, their musicals, their theatrical performances are all required, and so funding that, we're helping these students reach their degrees.
Commissioner Naylor.
I will also be speaking in affirmation. I think there is a large number of quantity of students that this affects in a positive way, but not only, I think, the quality of the work that they put out. Sometimes we tend to zoom in on the quantity and we forget to look at the quality, and I think the quality here is outstanding. I know College of Fine Arts students put in hours and hours of work for these performances, and I think this funding could only benefit them.
Any other thoughts on this motion? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstention, the motion carries. The next request is Varsity Esports. This is their student service fund. Their request was for $95,000. They're located on tab N or page 225 of the student fees binder.
Speakerphone.
I move to allocate $0.
Seconded by Commissioner Naylor. Would you like to speak on that?
Yes, I think and I brought it up with the scholarship as well. I don't believe that student fee dollars should go to funding entities that I view more like student organizations. I think we've done it in the past where we had funding for student organizations like the Model United Nations, the racing and Formula SAE teams as well. They used to be student fee funded. I think the argument can be made that they are more like a recognized student organization rather than a larger entity or department as compared to some of these other groups as well. Additionally, for their annual revenue breakdown for the esports program, their total estimated annual revenue generated was $555,000, $29.10. Additionally, it also mentioned within their packet as well that 70% of their program manager salary would go through to be used using student fee dollars as well. So that is why I'm motioning $0 for that. Additionally, I think with the amount of students it serves, I personally don't see the benefit of for the wider student body to fund the esports program as opposed to some of our other initiatives that we have.
I'll speak in affirmation of this motion. Like I stated before, during the scholarship item, I think that this is a great organization, but they truly do need to find other sources of revenue, as student fees, like we've mentioned before, for many of our other entities just are not applicable to this. So, any other thoughts? Speakerphone.
I would also like to add that since they are housed under the College of Education, I also believe that it is the College of Education's responsibility to take that on. I recognize that they used to be under campus recreation as well, but I think have hearing similar sentiments within the rowing team and some of the other entities as well, I think it would be prudent to apply the same standard across as we're reviewing the rest of our student fee entities as well. Additionally, I think for the esports team, I think yes, I believe that they do amazing work with their competitions, and then this is not bashing on their students or anything at all. I believe we just have to be consistent in the way that we approach our student fee allocations for this as well.
Any final thoughts? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 9 in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention, the motion carries. The next line item is graduate student programming. Their request was for $10,000. They're located on tab T or page 314 of the student fees binder.
I'd like to make a motion of $10,000, seconded by Vice President Nguyen. The reason for this is while looking at their budget, they have every single event planned out to the specific dollar and cent amount for each single item that they're spending their money on. They provide great programming for their graduate students who are substantially underrepresented on this campus when it comes to opportunities to engage. So I think this is a great use of our funds. Anybody else like to speak on this? Speaker Fawn.
I will also be speaking in affirmation of the amount of $10,000. Throughout the year, I think the graduate school has done a great job with communicating with different student groups on campus to ensure there isn't as much duplicity for their events. I've seen a lot of the marketing that they've been putting out as well for a lot of their programming also. I also appreciated them walking us through the different events that they had, the methods that they are doing to make up for some of the extra costs that have occurred due just to rising costs throughout the years. Additionally, I also appreciate partnerships and conversations that they had with the Graduate Student Council in addition to any additional graduate student organizations on campus.
Any other thoughts? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 9 in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention, the motion carries. The next line item is the NIST Student Digital Toolbox. They're the new request this year, requesting $50,000. They're located on tab G of the student fees binder or page 94.
Commissioner Wong.
I would like to fully fund them at their request at $50,000.
Seconded by Commissioner Beatty. Would you like to speak on that?
Yes, I think, in today's times and worlds, we all are here with our own laptops currently. I can't imagine a student who would not be able to complete a program or a major of their choice without such laptops. We are all very lucky to be able to have such a resource and device that is portable and maintainable. However, I also recognize that a lot of our students, they are first generation, and a lot of our students come here for the affordability piece, and so just providing an additional resource to them to be able to complete their schoolwork is very crucial.
Commissioner Beatty.
Yes, I'll also be speaking in affirmation. I believe that it's line items like these that really define what student fees should be for. We're taking money and we're allocating it to a department that's directly helping those of us students that need it most, and I think that's truly what student fees should be for.
Vice President Nguyen.
Yeah, so I was a part of the Passage to Success program, and I'm speaking in affirmation of this. I saw the first year students receive their laptops through this program. And so I think this would be a great benefit to fund them fully.
Final thoughts on this item? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions, the motion carries.
All right, before we move into any of the next items, I do want to add something on to my original motion of the day. So I move to expand the earlier budget provision that on top of allocations remaining in a singular account for student fees, any transfers out from this student fees account is restricted without pre-approval from student government and the central office. Do I have a second? Sent by Commissioner Naylor. The reason for this is the earlier language included restrictions on the revenue that was coming into the account. This is just to add restrictions on funds that are leaving the account without approval. Any thoughts on this? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstention, the motion carries. Okay, so the next few line items are not tied to a specific group, but so we'll kind of tackle them one at a time so we can kind of explain. So annually during this process, as the state works on their budget, they also introduce language around 2.5% compensation increase for state employees. That only really works on the SGF side, so the state general fund, that money that comes directly from the state. Typically, when we receive that guidance that the state is processing that, student fee positions are funded by student fee dollars, and so the only way that those dollars come to fruition is by doing it through the student fees process. So the two line items, and every year I recommend we just take them, we put them together to approve them. We did show in the spreadsheet that you'll see two line items that are focused on compensation. One that is for the non-RSC employees, which is about $45,285, and then the other that is specific to the RSC, which is $47,400. The reason why they're separate is because the RSC is not a state budget, so we can't pull it the same way we can pull it with the rest of the area, so they work on pulling that number for us, and that is what a 2.5% increase would look like for those funds. Couple of caveats that are important. The budget office produces the number by taking the number of positions we have that are funded by student fees at the percentage of those fees and produces this number. However, it doesn't always mean that every employee is receiving an increase. It's depending on whatever the final language from the state legislator is about whether it's a pool, whether it's an across the board, or other options. And I'm not sure if there are any other ones, but that's the general ones that we have seen in the past. The institution, for reference, utilizes a market-based compensation effort, and so as they process, we get the guidance from Human Resources as to where some of these positions and what their dollar amounts are for. Typically, we approve the funding for it. It gets held within the student fees account until we receive that information of where those dollars get spread out, and then we notify the budget office, and then they reallocate those dollars into the line items based off of whatever we get back from Human Resources. So couple of recommendations that are tied to this. You do have three options. The first one is to do nothing, so not to provide the funds. If the state does pass the increase, student fee entities will have to address this in their own budgets. Your second option is to fund half, where you provide half the dollars and they make up the other half. And the third option is to fully fund the pool of money. In total, the request for both of those areas or both of those compensation increases is $92,685. I do want to also be clear, sometimes that money is not always spent. Depending on whatever salary increases come in, it doesn't always get zeroed out, and some of that money just gets absorbed back into the budget. So I'm going to see if there's any questions about that before I give you my formal recommendation.
Could you provide some historical context on how the commission usually votes on these items?
Yeah, I would say of the 8 years that I have been here, only one time did they only fund half of it. The other, and I don't even know if we did it every single year, but I think maybe 6 years of the total, maybe of the 8, there was only one session that only provided half the funds. Every other session has fully funded this, this request. Does that answer your question? Other questions that I can help with this line item? Okay, then it would be my recommendation that the commission fully fund the 2.5% compensation increase at $92,685 and to be held within the student fees account until release upon recommendation of the of Human Resources.
Commissioner Wong?
I would like to motion to fully allocate the compensation increases at fiscal year 2027.
Could you repeat that number?
Yes, that would be $92,685.
Seconded by Commissioner Argumento. Would you like to speak on that?
Yes, I think that with the allocations that we have already done, it doesn't take this into consideration. And so whenever we took those into consideration, it would kind of defeat the purpose of those numbers if we then pushed this compensation increase onto them as well.
Any other thoughts? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions, the motion carries.
Commissioner Wong?
I would like to motion a stipulation for the compensation increase that the funds will be held in the Student Fees Contingency Fund until the state, Kansas legislature, and Kansas governor have enacted the fiscal year 2027 state budget and any changes to salary take effect via university policies. The funds shall be released upon notification by the budget office to the central office, and the central office shall notify the student body president, the student body vice president, the student body treasurer, and the speaker of the Senate of any action releasing any funds no later than June 30th, and shall file a detailed report highlighting which entity the funds were dispersed to, and shall update the fiscal year 2027 allocation to highlight those changes. And I can type that out for you.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Pang. Would you like to speak on that?
Since we don't know how the state will look at this compensation increase, I think it would be fiscally irresponsible for us to just give those dollars to them if they do not utilize it all.
Any other thoughts? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions, the motion carries. All right, the next one is the health insurance increase. Similar to the compensation, there are times in the years that we receive that cost for health insurance goes up. We so happen to have one in this upcoming fiscal year. Right now, that increase is at an 8.2%. The line on the screen is just purely for the student fee entities, not including the Radigan Student Center, because the Radigan Student Center absorbed their increase because they're on different health insurance plans in the university. That equals to $66,168. Similar to the compensation line, it's only based off of the percentage of what a position is funded from student fees. So if it's only funded 10%, then only 10% of that position receives that health insurance increase. Again, similar to how we've done with other years of this, it's been funded by the Student Fees Commission, but the same options exist. You have the option to do nothing, and the departments have to deal with it. You have the option to fund half of it, or you have the option to fully fund it as well. And this one, and Lindsay, and you might have to correct me if I'm wrong here, this one is pretty much set regardless. So this is not a penny legislative action. This is what the health insurance increase is from that component. So I'm happy to answer any questions before I give you my recommendation. Wonderful. Then it would be my recommendation that the Fees Commission fully fund the health insurance increase at $66,168.
Commissioner Argumento.
Kind of like the same thing with the compensation. How in the past has the committee voted on that?
Since we have had some of these, that's always funded it's always been funded 100% by the commissions each year that we've had it.
Commissioner Wong.
I would like to motion to allocate $66,168 at the fiscal year 2027 request with a stipulation. Sorry, this is going to be long again. The funds shall be held in the student fees contingency fund until any changes to health insurance take effect via university policies. Funds shall be released upon notification by the budget office to the central office. The central office shall notify the student body president, student body vice president, student body treasurer, and speaker of the Senate of any action releasing any funds no later than June 30th, and shall file a detailed report highlighting which entity the funds were dispersed to, and shall update the fiscal year 2027 allocation to highlight those changes. Furthermore, funds shall only be dispersed by the central office to entities for filled positions and not vacant positions.
Seconded by Commissioner Argumento. Would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, going off of similar of the previous line item, it would kind of have a moot point if we allocated all those dollars without the consideration of these health insurance increases. And then my stipulation is just to ensure that those dollars are being allocated correctly.
Any other thoughts on this line item? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions, the motion carries. Okay, the next one, and you have some options with this one as well, but there is a statute in the Budget and Finance Code of the student government that requires that it's called the RSO Stimulus Fund. It's designed, it was adopted last session, that is designed to require that the Fees Commission provide up to $250 for every recognized student organization on campus that is given to them in August to assist with their recruitment efforts at the beginning of the school year prior to the start of when appropriations goes live and when org funding is made available. The statute requires that the Commission annually fund up to the dollar amount of recognized organizations. The $10,000 that is on there is the difference of new student organizations that were created since last spring and when the original dollar amount was presented. It would be my recommendation, well, let me pause, that's there. See if there's any questions about that first.
Yeah, I have a question. Is there any reason that this line item is not funded by SGA?
That's a great question, and that's going to be a part of my recommendation. The statute requires that it comes from fees. And so we're required to put it on the line item here, but my recommendation that I will give you in a second will hopefully address what you're trying to reach. Other questions about this? Okay, so my recommendation would be to zero out this line and for the student government to absorb the $10,000.
I'd like to motion $0 for this item with the stipulation that the Student Government Association will absorb this cost into their budget. Seconded by Commissioner Wong. Like mentioned by myself and Advisor Fonseca before, Student Government Association handles all funds associated with student organizations themselves. I think that is a better place that the funds should come from rather than directly through student fees. Anybody else like to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstention, the motion carries. Okay, so there are two more. Because you do have to take action on something, the student fee statute requires that $1 million remain every year in the student fees contingency account. It is the student fees reserve to deal with budget shortfalls or issues relating to the overall student fees. This is not the student government contingency. This is the peer contingency fund for student fees. In the summer, the student government withdrew $75,000 to reallocate to an area who had a budget shortfall. The statute requires that you have to refund the account. I know there was an earlier action stated about this, but you do have to take some sort of action on this, whether it is to zero it out or to refund it from there, but you have to take some action so it's on the record that we did something. So I will take questions on that to see if there are any.
So if the commission were to zero this item out, would we remain in compliance if the $75,000 that we stipulated from student health that's coming in August, I think is the correct date, makes up for that? Is that correct?
I would say in your motion, if you zero it out, you'll need to stipulate that that's where the $75,000 will go.
Do you have any recommendations?
Not on this one. That will be up to you all.
Commissioner Wong?
I would like to motion to allocate $0 to this line item and stipulate that the $75,000 being paid by Student Health Services in August be moved to this line item.
Seconded by Speaker Fawn. Would you like to speak on this?
Yes, as we just heard from central office, this reserve has to be back up to the $1 million. And since we have already discussed on a different line item where this funding may come from, this is formalizing that action.
Any other thoughts? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is open. With 9 in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention, the motion carries. And then the final thing on this list, just because, again, you have to do something with it, a part of the final reduction for the Child Development Center of their $50,000, it is still sitting there because we need to take action on what to do with those dollars. So you either need to zero out that line item or you can reallocate those $50,000 somewhere else, but you'll need to take some sort of action on that. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Commissioner Argumento?
At this time, can I bring back an old motion that I posed?
You can. And you won't have to do the reconsider since there wasn't any action taken on it. So you'll just need to reintroduce that motion.
Yep.
I'd like to motion a reallocation of the $50K budget reduction from the Child Care Development Center to establish a scholarship for child care using the Child Care Development Center. Furthermore, that the Executive Board create the scholarship and bring forth a proposal to the Senate to release the funds.
Do I have a second? Seeing none, the motion is not adopted. Are there any other questions for the central office? I'd like to motion $0 for this line item. Seconded by Commissioner Wong. The reason for this is I have trust in the prior finance commissions in their sessions deciding to give this punishment to the Child Development Center, and I think that we should honor with the last year of not allocating this $50,000. Commissioner Argumento?
Yeah, I'm just going to speak in negation just because I feel like those $50,000 can go into student families to bring their children to the Child Care Development Center, increasing like interest in the CDC.
Commissioner Wong?
I will speak in affirmation. I think right now we're at a pretty good spot with our fee increase percentage change. Right now we would only be increasing the student fee by 0.25%, which is less than 1% overall.
Any other thoughts on this? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The voting period is now open. With 9 in favor, 1 against, and 0 abstentions, the motion carries. That concludes the first round of budget hearings or budget allocations.
I'd like to call a recess for 13 minutes until 3 p.m. Call this meeting back to order at 3 p.m. Advisor Fonseca.
Okay, so where we currently are, you have gone through every single line item. On the screen, you have made some choices that they're there. With the current way that you have spent money, this would increase the tier 1 rate, and keep in mind that the tier 1 rate is how we initially do this, and then it gets spread out amongst the other 2 rates, by roughly 0.25%, which is $1.05 for next fiscal year. So that would increase the overall rate to $426.38 for tier 1, which is our highest tier of student fees for fiscal year 2027. Are there any questions I can answer before you begin?
Speaker Fawn.
Can you go in a little bit of detail how much that is equivalent to in the total cost? Like, for example, like $100,000 or?
That's a great point. It's roughly about $24,000. It's to what the increase is to the overall bottom line. But for a student, they would only see a $1.05 increase for tier 1. Additionally, I will say this is, if there are no other motions, which I don't know, but if there are no other ones, then you'd begin the closing process. And once the budget is closed in this space, it's done here. And then it gets sent over to the next side to deal with it on their side. So this is your last chance. If there are other line items you want to reevaluate or other things you want to do, this is your last chance to do it.
Commissioner Wong.
I would like to stipulate that the campus recreation cannot incorporate the tennis complex operation budget into their future student fee budgets without the express permission of the student body president and the student body treasurer.
Scott Jensen.
Are you saying any additional dollars? Just to clarify.
Any operating dollars that go towards the tennis complex.
To clarify, is that in the future or for this current?
When they presented, they stated that it was none of the fiscal year 2027 allocations is going to the tennis complex, but because the tennis complex is an operating budget that they could be looking at in the future, even if they don't plan for it, it could be something that happens. I would like the student body president and the student body treasurer in the future to be able to take a look and then give permission before they incorporate it into future student fee processes.
I'm sorry.
Before you do that, you'll need to get a second for us to keep discussing this.
Seconded by Commissioner Naylor.
There you go.
And I think, and again, I'm not speaking in affirmation or the opposite. I do think it makes sense as soon as we in campus recreation know more to bring it forward. And so I absolutely think that makes a ton of sense to bring all folks on board. And I think, again, to maybe echo what the director was trying to share was his excitement over this expanded opportunities for students. And so I do think it makes sense, though, to bring SGA on board with any changes that could make to expenditures they're going to have.
Would anybody else like to speak on this motion? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 1 against, 0 abstention, the motion carries.
Commissioner Wong.
I move to absorb the current 24,000 student fee increase to the SGA special projects account in fiscal year 2027.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Speaker Fawn. Would you like to speak on that?
Yes, I would like to keep the fee increase as low as possible for students by taking the extra allocated amount. It would put that burden on our Student Government Association budget line versus the students. Yes, it is a very small amount. At the same time, though, again, students come here for the affordability piece, so I would like to keep it as low as possible with a 0% increase.
I will also stand in affirmation with this motion. I think even though we were at such a low dollar increase, it is important with the fact that tuition and other fees are increasing across campus that we do our best to keep things low here. As we've seen today, many entities were cut harshly, and I don't think it's fair to go through all of those cuts and still increase any dollar amount for our students. Commissioner Wong?
Sorry, point of order. Can I change my, okay. I meant to say $24,250, so I would like to retract my motion to do so.
Commissioner Wong?
I move to absorb the current $24,250 student fee increase to the SGA Special Projects account in fiscal year 2027.
Seconded by Commissioner Argumento. Would you like to speak on that?
Same reasons as the motion before.
Are there any other thoughts on this item? This is more of a question for the central office, but does this process still need approval from Student Government Association before we can pass this budget?
Well, great question. Kind of ish, because ultimately they'll have to vote on the full budget as presented. But because of the way that the student government budget is now written and with the approval of joint leadership, only the president and the treasurer are allowed to withdraw from the special projects account during the student fees process. So you have the ability to do it, but ultimately still the Senate needs to sign off on the entirety of the budget. But they would just be receiving the overall allocations and would see a 0% increase to the student fee if this passes. So yes, they'll have to approve it, but you don't need special permission like we needed last year in order to do it. Does that answer your question?
Any other thoughts on this item? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is now open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstention, the motion carries. So this would bring your budget to, again, be done and at a $0 increase to the fee. So again, this is wrapping up your final chances to do anything else you want to do with this budget before we begin the closing process. And if you have any general questions about where we are too, please ask those and we can help answer that as well.
I have something that's not about the budget at all. So once we sort of get through that, it's more about a motion that was made earlier. So I just wanted to, when there's room for that, if I could have just a minute.
Yeah, you can go ahead right now.
Okay. I want to say I genuinely and authentically understand the notion behind sweeping the Office of Student Accommodations and Testing's reserves. What I had, Emily Zimmerman, who is our business operations director within Student Affairs, I had her look at their budget this year. And just to give you all some context, Emily and I meet quarterly with all of the directors, and we look over their budgets, and we sort of pace out where they are each quarter of every year, and we've been doing that for 3 years now. And again, I can say we noticed the trend that you all noticed, that they weren't spending out of that budget as much as maybe they could have. But looking at this year's budget in particular, and it's based off of the number of students this year on campus who are requiring higher end accommodations from their office, it is both of our beliefs that they will spend all of that money this year. And that includes that money as well as the emergency fund money that you all are speaking to. I would ask a reconsider of the vote. And again, and I understand if you say no, but to amend it to if there's money left at the end of this fiscal year, and again, we can be very transparent with the accounting that's going on in whatever fashion you all might choose, to then sweep at the end of this year if indeed accommodations that went directly to students weren't paid for out of that account, then sweep it then. That's the request I have. And I'll field any questions on that.
Any questions first off? Are there any motions? Commissioner Argumento?
Yes, I want to bring back to, how do I say, go back to the Office of Student Accommodations and Testing and reevaluate our decision. Is that the right way to say it?
Is there a motion?
I motion to approve funding of $10,000 for Office of Student Accommodation and Testing. No?
Do I have a second? Seeing no second, the motion is not adopted. Just for some clarification, what Scott Jensen from Student Affairs was talking about was not the dollar amount that was allocated to them, but however the reserves that were requiring to be swept. So
Yeah, okay.
that was what he was talking about. And your microphone is still on, by the way. Commissioner Pang? Commissioner Nyandaro?
Okay, I would like to motion to return them their reserves on the grounds that we sweep back whatever is left at the end of the fiscal year.
Do I have a second? Sent by Commissioner Argumendo. Would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, as what Scott said, they are planning to use that money, so I guess we might just give them, because I genuinely feel that I genuinely feel like if we take away that money, the burden is going to be on our students, since they are planning to use the reserves and the other reserves, which are not student fees. So if we just give them this opportunity, this one last chance to use this money, and whatever is left, we take back. So, yeah.
I will still be speaking in negation of this item like I have all day. I'm going to leave you guys with a quote that I've said before. The presenter labeled these funds as they have been allocated in the past, and they were requested for this year as the cherry on top for the rest of the funding that they receive for everything else. I think that this sweep is showing accountability for them. The fact that they continually lied to us the past 2 years, they shouldn't be able to have that funding again. You know, telling the Student Government Association Finance Commission that they were spending the funds and they needed more to spend, however, they were just sitting there. I think that sweeping this from them is showing accountability. Commissioner Wong?
2 points. Yes, they say they are planning to use these dollars, but how many times has the Student Fees Commission heard we're planning to use these dollars for this? At this point, the Office of Student Accommodations and Testing has broken our trust. We have no reason from them to give them another opportunity to trust them again. We've been told time and time again, we will use these dollars, we will use them towards student accommodations. And yet, what do we see? Dollars that are not used towards student accommodations, and now they are trying to tell us that they are planning to use these dollars, which is the same exact argument that they used for the past 2 fiscal years. What reason do we have to trust the Office of Student Accommodations and Testing? Additionally, they should not even have these dollars in the first place because they should have spent them already. And so this logic of giving them another opportunity to spend it on students does not make sense to me in this body because they have not done so in the past, and I do not believe that they will do so again in the future.
Commissioner Naylor?
I would also like to speak against this motion. Alongside Treasurer Bum, I believe that they've been given 2 chances. I believe that they have not used these funds adequately, and they continue to request more funds. So I do see the point to where they are needing more extreme measures to meet the accommodations of students coming in, and they might need more money. However, at this point, I do not believe the trust is there to give them the students' money. And if they find themselves in a position that they need more money, I think they should look elsewhere.
Commissioner Nindaro.
I do understand that they should be held accountable for their actions, but at the same time, they've already used $4,000 of this money that they haven't been using, showing that they already have plans. So, and if they don't use it, the 16,000 that I'm proposing to give them back, it's still going to come back to us. So, I guess for this one time, we might just forgive them and just trust them again.
Any other thoughts? Commissioner Tijuana?
Just to add to that, they have stated in the packet that they have $21,000 additional dollars in their secondary reserve account. So if they need that extra money, they already have a reserve for that.
Commissioner Nindaro?
At the same time, Scotch said that they're planning to use the student fee reserves and the other 25,000. So and as it was stated, this year's budget for them is quite different from the other previous years. So I feel like we might strain them if we take away the 16,000.
Just a thought that I have is this is no fault of Scott. He's just the messenger here, but it seems to me that this is kind of a last-ditch effort for them. They're hearing that they're about to lose their fund, and they're saying, "Oh no! Before student government takes it away from us, we want to spend it. Please don't." Seems like a last-ditch effort after a couple years of not having that accountability. So, Commissioner Wong.
I will also say that this is not organizational funding where we give these students or allocate a certain amount of dollars and then say, oh yeah, that's fine, we will just get back whatever we can. That is not how this process works. These are directors. They're being paid full-time salary and benefits to know their budget inside out and to utilize these funds with the will of the student body. This is financial irresponsibility that needs to be held accountable. They cannot be given another third opportunity to say, we are planning to use this. We have heard that. This is the end of those promises that are, frankly, not being kept to the standard of the Student Government Association. This is a department. Student organizations, yes, they are students. We give them lots of grace, kindness, and support because we as students understand that and we see that in our own peers. But these are departments. These are people who are being paid to be fiscally responsible. If they're not being fiscally responsible with the dollars that we give them, they should not be receiving these dollars at all.
Commissioner Nindaro.
So I guess with what has been said, I would like to retract my motion.
Would you like to retract your second? All right. Scott Jensen.
I genuinely appreciate you all discussing it again and understand the outcome.
I'd like to consider another motion to direct the central office in partnership with the budget office to produce a detailed report by Friday, April 3rd of all cash balances by all student fee entities that are specific to prior fiscal year and including FY25 carry forward and file that report with the student government for review. They should only consider the funds that are purely student fees, and this report shall exempt the Radigan Student Center. Do I have a second? Sent by Commissioner Pang. The reason for this is how scrutinizing we are of being for the Office of Student Accommodation and Testing. I think it's important to have accountability for all of our entities, that we understand where their reserves are, if we are being this harsh on a singular entity. Anybody else like to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period.
The vote is open. With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstention, the motion carries.
I do have a quick question about the spreadsheet. I see there's a $0 change, but there is a very slight percentage increase. Could you go through that?
Yeah, so it has to do with that's actually allocated on a tier basis, but obviously we can't round that to the exact dollar within $10 million, so it's just rounding.
But to be clear, it will still be a 0% increase.
Does anyone else have any further motions? Seeing none, Advisor Fonseca, we are ready to proceed with closing.
Commissioners, pursuant to SGA regulations as set by the bylaws, the chair shall now call for 3 individual votes by simple majority, and these are roll call votes.
Pursuant to the commission regulations as set by the bylaws, I move to approve the overall allocation of the student services fee. Is there a second? Seconded by Speaker Fawn. Advisor Fonseca, please proceed with the roll call.
Vice President Nguyen,
Yes.
Speaker Fawn,
Yes.
Chairperson Tijuana,
Yes.
International Commissioner Argumedo,
Yes.
Underserved Commissioner Wong,
Yes.
Engineering Commissioner Nyandaro,
Yes.
Freshman Commissioner Naylor,
Yes.
Health Professions Commissioner Pang,
Yes.
Out-of-State Commissioner Beatty,
Yes.
Adult Learners Commissioner Runquist.
Yes.
With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions, the motion carries.
Pursuant to the commission regulations as set by the bylaws, I move to approve and adopt the 0% increase to the student services fee. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Wong. Advisor Fonseca, please proceed with the roll call.
Vice President Nguyen,
Yes.
Speaker Fawn,
Yes.
Government Oversight Chair Tijuana,
Yes.
International Commissioner Argumedo,
Yes.
Underserved Commissioner Wong,
Yes.
Engineering Commissioner Nyandaro,
Yes.
Freshman Commissioner Naylor,
Yes.
Health Professions Commissioner Pang,
Yes.
Out-of-State Commissioner Beatty,
Yes.
Adult Learners Commissioner Runquist.
Yes.
With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions, the motion carries.
Pursuant to commission regulations as set by the bylaws, I move to authorize the signatures to forward this recommendation to the Senate. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Wong. Advisor Fonseca, please proceed with the roll call.
Vice President Nguyen,
Yes.
Speaker Fawn,
Yes.
Chairperson Tijuana,
Yes.
International Commissioner Argumedo,
Yes.
Underserved Commissioner Wong,
Yes.
Engineering Commissioner Nyandaro,
Yes.
Freshman Commissioner Naylor,
Yes.
Health Professions Commissioner, Pang,
Yes.
sorry, Out-of-State Commissioner Beatty,
Yes.
Adult Learners Commissioner Runquist.
Yes.
With 10 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstention, the motion carries.
Seeing no further new items on the agenda, on behalf of the association, I thank each and every one of you for your service to this commission. Advisor Fonseca.
So just as a reminder, as the Senate begins its process, there is still a possibility that the Senate doesn't adopt it. If they do not adopt it, it comes right back to this group to submit a new recommendation. If they pass it, then it will continue through the process for signature by the student body president and final signature by the university president, and then it's submitted to the Kansas Board of Regents. So if something happens where they send it back, we will let you all know and then re-summon to deal with that from there. But that is all that I have. And just final note, I know this was a hard week. It was a long week, and I know you all had lots of hours in preparation for this. So I really do appreciate all of your hard work, and thank you for your service. I also want to thank the RSC IT staff for being here this week with us. So let's give them a round of applause. Also want to recognize the Budget Office for all of their work in preparing for this process since last semester, really forever. But I thank them for all of their work and for being here with us as well. Let's give them another round of applause. And then just finally, for the people in the Sunflower who were here as well all week, thank you for being here and for reporting on this and for sharing this information with students. We appreciate your work as well. So let's give them a round of applause. And with that, I will throw it back.
Unless called back by the central office, the Student Fees Commission will stand in adjournment.